Let me preface this by saying that this is going to be a heavily opinionated video, and you can take any of these ideas and possibly suggest them to Kishimoto on Twitter if any pique your interest. And whenever you suggest them, you can take all the credit. I have no followers there, but I do have followers here, so I'll have all of them translated into Japanese using DeepL in the description, so you can just copy and paste if you do happen to like one. Most of these are just going to be accessibility suggestions. Please consider making 2D sections in future 3D Sonic games optional, like in cyberspace for the open zones. Many people in the West believe the 2D in the open zones is one of the worst parts of the game because it limits player movement. Now let me explain myself. I know I have said before, or at least suggested, that I don't really mind them doing 2D and 3D Sonic games if done right. I think this would still be a good idea to at least give the people who don't like it the option to disable it, so both parties will get what they want to have in the games. Part of the design philosophy of the open zone games seems to be giving the players many options as possible to please the consumer, like an RPG. So why not give them this option that would basically solve the problem people have with games not being fully 3D anymore? Please consider making single campaigns for the characters in the next game instead of combining the characters all together in one campaign like in Sonic Forces and Sonic Adventure 2. This really comes down to my own personal preference. I do think character campaigns with multiple playable characters can work like in PO6, but think it would be better to remain consistently on one playable character throughout one campaign to not confuse or annoy players who just want to play as the character they wanted to from the get-go, like in Sonic Adventure 1 or at the time of writing the script, Sonic Frontiers. Please consider making multiple playable characters optional to beat the game, to please both the people who want to play as them and people who do not want to play as them. And this sort of coincides with the last suggestion with slight tweaks to it. In Sonic Adventure 1, you were required to play as all of the characters' campaigns to beat the game, but I could see why someone would only want to play as only Sonic, so an easy way to compromise is just give them the prompt asking whether they want to only play as Sonic and beat the game or play as other characters alongside Sonic at the start of the game, but still have some cutscenes for context from the other playable characters' campaigns. They've shown that they're unafraid to make important details optional with a final boss in Frontiers, so why not entire character campaigns? I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't played the game yet, but I recommend playing on hard mode on your first attempt if you haven't played it yet. Please consider adding more NPCs to the game to make it feel more alive like an RPG. There are a bunch of characters from the IDW comics or even some of the core freedom fighters from the Archie comics that fans know Sega has the rights to that I'm sure would not mind being added as NPCs if they are not playable in the games. I'm a big RPG guy. My favorite game of all time is an RPG with bad graphics, but this video isn't about that. One of the major complaints about Sonic Frontiers that I think is entirely justified is that it feels empty, at least in terms of how many characters there are that you can interact with. Not in the sense that it's empty because there's nothing to do in the open zones when there's plenty to do in them thanks to the challenges. It's just that it could be way better if there were more characters to interact with and learn about the lore of Sonic, or help them with their daily lives for miscellaneous tasks and quests on top of the challenges if they happen to be a random civilian, just like the civilians in Sonic Forces or the IDW comics. And before anyone questions the mention of the Freedom Fighters, Sega of America actually does own the rights to the core Freedom Fighters. They would not have been in the rest of the Archie comics if they didn't after Kim Pender's departure from the team that worked on them. Please consider adding more skills to the combat skill tree in future installments of the series. I think the combat is fine the way it is in Sonic Frontiers. Just think they should build upon it with some more cool abilities for the next game and maybe even add some fun optional gimmicks to it. Please consider making the homing attack animation shorter in cyberspace levels. I don't like the homing dash. Almost all the levels after 1-2 range from easy to medium difficulty without utilizing the homing dash, besides the ones near the end of the game, and think it would be way better if the homing attack actually functioned the way it was supposed to. Please consider making the main story's character interactions have more action set pieces like Sonic Prime or Sonic X. A major complaint that non-fans and a vocal minority of fans have is that there is not enough action to justify the dialogue's heavy reliance on telling people that things will get better and not showing that things will get better in the same way that Sonic Forces did in 2017. I wasn't open to this idea at first, but after thinking about it for quite a while yeah, I agree. There could have been more action instead of just telling that it would happen. Ian Flynn is a great writer, but with the time constraints this game had, I don't think he had enough control over how much action between the main characters there could be, or how much build-up there could have been in character interactions. Obviously, that might change just a little with updates coming to Frontiers in the future, but in Frontiers' current state, they could do better in the next game and should strive to do so the first time instead of fixing the problem later. Please make the Lightspeed Dash like Sonic Adventure 2's version of it. This should go without saying, but Sonic should not come to a complete stop going at light speed when the entire point of the mechanic is for him to go faster than he would be going, using the momentum he gained from it than without using it. Please consider making the open zones bigger for the next game. This sort of coincides with the suggestion about adding more NPCs to the games alongside the challenge puzzles. Sonic runs fast, so the game designers would need to space the NPCs out and away from the puzzles. Please consider making customization options affect gameplay for characters other than Sonic, like various types of armor. I know this sounds stupid, but hear me out. They've did it with Sonic before, but I don't think they can do it again with how powerful Super Sonic has become. However, they can do it with other characters like Whisper if she's ever added to the game, since it has already been established that they use armor and weapons. There you have it. That's just some of my suggestions for the next game. Let me know what you think in the comment section, or if you think any of them are worth copying and pasting like I asked about near the beginning of the video. There are some others I would make, but they've already been addressed by Kishimoto in some of my previous videos, so there's not really much of a point in reiterating those. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, or dislike it if you dislike it, and if you want more content like this, click the end card. Bye.